folks, AJ here with Sapien-Motion. Today I'm bringing you a review of one of my personal vehicles, 2018 Cadillac CTS V-Sport Morello Red Edition. This is the third generation of the CTS platform. I'm marched to end of production for the CTS model line. It will soon be replaced by the CT5 and the CT4, which is essentially an ATS replacement. The third generation CTS draws its inspiration design-wise from the CL as well as the El Mirage concepts. Neither of those vehicles made it to production, but design elements didn't make it through to production on the third generation CTS. Notably from the El Mirage is this C-pillar design with the sharp crease there. Design elements from both the El Mirage as well as the CL would be the signature vertical styled headlamps and tail lamps, both utilizing LED lighting to mimic the fins of yesteryear from, for say, like the 67 Eldorado or the fins from much earlier like the 59 Cadillacs. Cadillac has done interesting things with LED lighting to mimic its past without having to go into body work to bring forward those design elements. There were much noted design elements from cars of the past. Now the CL appears to draw on its inspiration from the 67 Cadillac Eldorado, as it had slim vertical taillight fins. This car, again, for modern reasons and safety reasons, has those design elements, but they've been widened for safety reasons. The inner LED strips do illuminate at night. They do mimic those tail fins of yesteryear. Now, if you think about it, Cadillac has ingeniously used LED light strips to bring forward the design philosophy they used in the 50s and 60s. Again, with the body, traditionally with body work and tail fins, LED technology has allowed Cadillac to evoke those past design elements. Case in point, the Escalade, which probably has the longest LED strip of any production vehicle. And those are mimicked back to like the 59 Eldorado, which had those, I guess you could call them exaggerated tail fins with those light elements. Again, it was unmistakably a Cadillac design treatment. Whether good, bad, or indifferent, American car design was daring back then. Sometimes it was polarizing, sometimes it was downright bizarre, but again, those design elements showed that Americans had passions when it came to car design. Third generation CTS, again, brings forward that Cadillac art and science design philosophy, cuts and creases. It doesn't look like anything else on the road. It still holds up. This car is introduced for the 2014 model year. This is now 2019, and it still holds its own. It's not an amoeba, that's been molded to look like an oval egg running down the road. I'm not going to name any names, but I think you can think of a few models that have that design feature. Cadillac is still distinctive. Unfortunately with this car in particular, the price may have put it out of contention because some folks felt that, if you're going to pay this kind of money, this car, by the way, sticking for $77,000. I didn't pay that much for it. I paid 48 and change a year later with a couple of miles on the clock. Very few miles, by the way. But anyway, that being said, folks felt that they would rather go to the Germans and, in some cases the Japanese to pay that kind of money. Now, Cadillac, the engineers, put forth their best effort with this car. It's underpinned by the Alpha chassis. The Alpha chassis has been touted as one of the best handling platforms out there. It underpins ATS. It underpins the Camaro. Camaro ZL1, think of that vehicle. Think of the Camaro 1 SSLE, most notably, and how well that car handles. This car is no slouch on the track and on the road. This isn't your grandfather's Cadillac to where you're a boulevarder, you're going down, you're riding in basically a mobile Barker Lounger. No, it's not soft like that. If somebody goes into a Cadillac dealership and they were to take out a CTS V-Sport per se, they get in it, it's going to be firmer, much firmer. It's not going to give you that cushiony ride, but it's going to perform. If those of you familiar with BMW, it's going to perform similar to an E60. I have had 13 BMWs, actually 14. I still have a BMW in the stable, and this car definitely brings forth those handling attributes. Performance-wise, this car has a 3.6 liter V6 twin turbo with Mitsubishi screws, putting out about 12 psi. Torque curve is pretty flat from 1900 all the way up to about 5600, and peak torque is from about 3500 to 4500. The engine compression ratio is about 10.21, which is relatively high for a turbo. It also features charged brick heat exchangers on top of the engine, which is similar to the LSA, which was in the second gen CTS V and ZL1, the supercharged versions, the early one, not the LT4, which out there now in the Gen 3 CTS V. This car also has suspension enhancements. Spring rates have been increased, quicker steering rack, third generation magnetic ride control. You know, you flip a switch and it's going to firm up and handle very flat with minimal body roll. It also features staggered width tires. This car has 245, 45 18s in the front, sitting on 8.5s, and on the rear it has 275, 40 18s sitting on 9.5 rear inch rims. The tires I've since changed out to the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S, as the Pirellis that came with these cars, they run flats, they ride like bricks. Pirellis are great, they have good turn in, but they last about 10 minutes. Michelin, bar none, is the best tire on the market right now. And these Pilot 4S bring forth that, you know, all of the things they've learned from Le Mans. You know, it's essentially a race rain tire brought forth to the street. It also has good durability, and tread wear. Also, what else can I say? It also has an electronic limited slip differential shared with the Corvette. The transmission is an ACEN unit shared with Lexus. It's the only GM car with that transmission. Well, as far as I believe, that I know of. I know it's the only CTS, so I'd have to check the stats as it being the only GM, but I know it's exclusive to the CTS V-Sport and the CTS model line. CTS V, I believe, has a GM 8L90 transmission. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. What else can I say about this? Now, this car runs the Cadillac exclusive 3.6 liter twin turbo, designated LF3. It has shared blocking components with the LF4, which is the engine that is in the ATS-V, minus the upgraded turbos and boost. This car runs about 12 pounds of boost. The ATS-V runs about 15 pounds of boost. This car features twin Mitsubishi TD04 L6 turbos. Can you say basically a four-door New Age Grand National? That's what it harks back to. That's forged crankshafts, 420 horsepower, 430 foot-pounds for the torque. Again, at 118 horsepower per liter. With a 6,500 RPM redline, torque curve is from 1,900 to 5,600 RPM, and peak torque is from 35 to 4,500 RPM. This car has very little lag. It's very responsive. You get on it and it moves. And it's also running 10.21 compression, which is relatively high for a turbo. It also features charged cool heat exchangers, similar to what's found on the LSA, which is in the prior gen CTS V and Camaro ZL1. That was a 6.2 liter LSA. It also has a humidity sensor to gauge ambient air temperature to provide consistent engine cooling. Some people who run them on the track, you know, in extreme circumstances, say they experience heat soak. I have yet to experience any drop off in performance. Again, this car has a lot of cooling areas. You know, these vents are all open. The lower vents, center vent, I wish they had a mesh screen or something to prevent stuff from getting in there, but hey, you know, it breathes, as well as on the right. No faux vents here, and there's also an intake, if you guys can see the cameras picking that up, right there inside the grille. Very efficient engine powertrain. This engine is a beast. What makes it a Morello Red Edition? Well, it's essentially a $4,600 trim package. It features the following equipment: black high gloss smoke chrome grille. It also features this black out window treatment, again in high gloss. Some of the other models has a chrome border along the edges. This one is all blacked out. It also features body colored door handles. Now the other premium versions, which this car is equipped with, premium package, have an illuminated door handle, which I think I would have preferred. I would have preferred the GM just frosted them and maybe painted the surrounds body color. The base versions have like a chrome insert here, and again the other cars have like a high gloss, I think it's Galviano aluminum trim is what it's stated as. In addition to that, let's go into the interior. The Morello Red Edition features these $2,300 see if I can focus this in a little bit. $2,300 Recaro sport seats. These seats are a $2,300 option even on the CTS V as well as the ATS-V. So you'll be hard pressed to find another CTS with these seats. Additionally, the CTS V-Sport Morello Red Edition features these red door cards. It also features, It also features this carbon fiber trim with red woven inserts. Again, the seats, they also have Alcantara inserts, both front and rear. Probably can't see the rear until I get back there, but I'll give you guys a better shot of that. It also features red stitching on the dash. It's a very nicely thought out package, you know. In addition to that, this car has the premium package, so that gives us the 12.3-inch reconfigurable gauge cluster. Highly reconfigurable. I can display anything I want. I always tend to run with since I want to make sure I'm tuning in here, get a better focus here for you guys. I always run with the tire pressure display. I always like to know what's going on with my tires. I'm not running around flats. As I said, I'm running traditional performance radials, so I like to know what's going on with him. Don't want to experience any, sudden loss of tire pressure without me knowing it. It's possible, but if it's going low gradually, I like to know that as well. I can display the boost gauge. I wonder if you guys ever seen a Cadillac with a boost gauge, huh? Come on now. Shows you what the commitment was on behalf of those engineers who put together the third generation CTS on the Alpha platform, as well as creating that engine. Again, it's a V6. It's not going to sound like a V8. It's not going to be its bigger brother CTS V. It's not going to have the rumble and that supercharger whine, but for a V6, it doesn't sound bad, man. It doesn't sound like a Grand Prix GXP from yesteryear. That's for sure. It has more of a high-tech design to it. It's interesting. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's okay. Again, it's not a V8. I've had a V8. I come from M3 with a high rev and normally aspirated V8, and I think that in addition to its bigger brother, the S65 and the M3 I had the X65, and its bigger brother had the S62. Those engines were phenomenal. Probably some of the best sounding V8 engines ever made by BMW. Now this, again, the experience is different, but again, I'm not at all dissatisfied with it. Again, the gauge responds to your input. I can put it in tour. It's going to give me a black round. Put it in sport. It's going to give me more of that performance-oriented black round, which is going to be, with the white borders and the rev and the tack showing up a little bit more prominently. Again, I can come across to the right quadrant. I can come here. I can choose menu. I can change the display layout to whatever it is that I want, depending on my mood. I can make it in enhanced mode, which is going to put the digital speedometer at the top. I can display the nav screen below it. I can do a bunch of different things. It's again much more configurable than what you would get in the base the base CTS V-Sport, which is essentially all analog. A lot of people hark on that, and I can understand why. They don't want to spend $59,000-$60,000, which was the entry point for that car, and then have a gauge cluster that looks similar to what you would find in an 80s GM product. I get you. I'm going to turn the AC on, folks. It's about 90 degrees here in Atlanta today. It's pretty hot. Anyway, as you can see, the gauge cluster is infinitely adjustable. I can put my tire pressure there. I can bring up a different type of boost gauge, more analog, needles type. My fuel miles to empty is showing differently, displaying differently. And the temperature gauge is displayed differently. So again, depending on your preference, folks, this car is highly reconfigurable. People hark about Q. Now Q, again, listen, even I had a 2014 before this, and it did have some lag issues. And even this Gen 3 Q, sometimes it has its issues. I'm not gonna lie, Q can be buggy at times, but for the most part, it's been reliable. I have iDrive 6.0, which is BMW's interface, in the wife's car, and it went out on me one time. Just went black is what I meant. So as far as responsiveness and functionality, it does its thing. I can recenter, I can bring up traffic information. It's going to bring up nearby traffic. And this is quick. You see that, this isn't smoke and mirrors. I can bring up a search screen, go to recent, show me where I was at last, come here to my favorites, or even go to fuel. It's going to show me, basically the 4 top gas stations that I normally frequent, although Citgo less or so, BP less or so. I'm a Shell person. Bring up Shell. It's going to show me the shells that are nearby. It's also going to show me the gas prices. Again, Q's not bad, man. I can call them if I want to. It brings up, wealth of information. The audio interface, not bad. This car has Apple CarPlay. I have an iPhone XS Max. It connects right up. Or I can just use the regular GM interface, which is not bad. It has Pandora. Go to home. It has some apps that I can download. It's fairly flexible. Some people complain about the haptic touch. Listen, Mercedes is going to haptic touch, most notably, or most recently, Audi as well as Porsche. Look at a new Panamera. Look at a new Audi A6, A7, A8. They all have haptic touch interfaces now. Cadillac was there first. A lot of people complain about the gloss black that surrounds it. Again, it was a little bit unresponsive when it was first introduced. But let's see if you guys maybe not you personally, but let's see if folks give Audi and Porsche the same type of, negative feedback. I can't, speak enough to what Cadillac tried to do here. Unfortunately, in the marketplace, it just wasn't recognized. Again, you guys are probably familiar with this compartment, which is basically electronically actuated. Hit on the bottom and it opens, and what I have down here, there's a charge pad. I have an iPhone XS Max, so it won't fit in there, but a smaller phone will. You have a charge pad, so there's a lot of functionality. And again, this is part of the premium package, so you get things like automatic parking, parallel and perpendicular, lane control, which will also steer you back into the lane. I've turned that off. It's kind of forceful. It's kind of unnatural feeling at times. It also features fully adaptable cruise control from 0. It'll stop to 0 and then it'll start up on its own. It's not super cruise, but it is an effective system. It also has auto high beam headlamps. It has a rear brake assist. So if you're backing out of a parking space and somebody's coming around, it'll show you which direction the vehicle or person is coming from, left or right, with directional arrows. If you get too close, whether they're backing up or you're about to impact them, it will stop the vehicle on its own. It happened to me one time. It felt I was too close to a pillar, which I had it, but it said, nah, man, you're too close, so I'm going to have to put the brakes on you. And it stopped itself. Again, nice to have. So again, the technology does not fall behind the competition. Matter of fact, certain things that Cadillac has, for instance, this rearview mirror, you probably can see the screen. What's depicted now is my rear sunshade. All right, I'm going to put the sunshade down. And I'm going to switch so you see the car behind me and you see the headrest. So I'm going to switch it now to the other view. Now it's becoming a video feed. I can put the shade back up. You won't see the shade come up because the camera is outside of the car. I don't use this all the time because it's somewhat alarming when a car comes up close on your bumper. It looks like they're really close, but they're not actually that close. They've since improved the camera position or changed the camera position to, I believe, the rear antenna, which is on a roof, which gives a different perspective and probably more proximate to where the vehicle is actually, or where objects are behind the vehicle. Again, you can see the sunshade. When I flip it up, put it in a regular view. This car also has leather wrap steering wheel, again part of the premium package, Alcantara and leather with, again, the French seam stitching, part of that art and sew, or cut and sew design philosophy that Cadillac always touts. I'm going to go around to the exterior of the car so you can see some other design element. It also features with the premium package these stainless steel pedal covers. It's a nice little touch. Again, the Morello Red Edition gives you these red door cards, red armrest, red center armrest. Let's go around to the exterior of the car, to the other side. Let's see what the rear looks like. Another nice little option that's included with the premium Lux package is the illuminated door sills. Again, you'd have to pay extra for that on a lot of other vehicles. Again, Cadillac thought this one through. You know, base is really pretty much base. I mean, you get the equipment that you need, but you step up quite a bit when you go to the premium Lux, as you get all types of nice to haves. Okay, let's go around to the rear. Now note the seat backs here. These are Alcantara seat backs on the front of these. These are again the optional Recaros. You get Alcantara seat backs on both, which is a nice thing to have. Unfortunately, we don't have the Alcantara headliner. It's black, however, but it's not Alcantara. You also get this panoramic roof, rear sunshades. Even the smaller window has a sunshade. And as you saw before, the most rear sunshade is electrically actuated. Also, you get rear climate control, which is nice to have. So, digital rear climate control with heated rear seats. So, again, folks, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find a car in this price range, especially if you pick one up with the right price. With this amount of features. I don't know if you guys can see the dual USB ports that were added for 2018 model year as well, which is very helpful. You'd be hard pressed to find another car with this amount of features, you know, especially lightly used. Now, unfortunately, again, the CTS V-Sport has been since canceled. They came up with, GM came up with a two-tier design or strategy for the V cars, which, you know, there's a CTS CT5V, CT4V, and there'll be a higher performing variant. Interestingly enough, the CT5V has less horsepower than this, less horsepower and torque than the V-Sport, which is, again, was to be slated as the sub brand when the V-Sport model lineup was introduced, sub to the CTS V lineup. So think about that, folks. The actual V-Sport has more horsepower than the newly introduced CT5V. And again, that car will be decontented. Once it gets to market, look at what you get. You'll probably have to step up to a CT6 to match this feature for feature. Again, with the rear climate, you know, the panel roof will come across. I don't think that the CT5V has a Recaro seat option. Again, there's Alcantara inserts on the rear seats as well, semi-aniline seats. That might make it through the production, but let's see how well they do. Cadillac is playing with packages because, again, people didn't respond as they thought they would to the CTS or third gen CTS model lineup. They put in a lot of features, a lot of design effort. Performance is clearly there. You can look at the competition out there, and it holds its own. The only thing is just GM has its stigma for, you know, quality control and what people, I guess, perceive a GM product to be. If you go into a Cadillac dealership, if you don't have the right people trying to promote this product or selling the product who have the right product knowledge, who understand performance, or understand their customer, then it's not going to move off the showroom floor. There's no reason why these cars should have sat. I mean, production for the 2018 CTS Morello V-Sport, I think they probably made less than 50 of these. If somebody has actual production numbers, please let me know. Configured like this car is basically a unicorn. I've seen one other person who had one on a Cadillac V-Sport vlogs. Her car came from Sewell, which is a, you know, touted Cadillac dealership in Texas. And the only other one I've seen configured like this was the road and track test journal car or press car. So again, there are several other V-Sports out there, you know, in premium and base forms, but the Morello Red Edition is basically a unicorn. It's unlike you will see many of these on the road, if any. I haven't seen any on the road physically. Again, in print and online I have, and that's only the number of a whole lot of it basically amounts to 2. I'm getting tongue twisted here. It's a little hot. Anyway, that being said, again, folks, you know, what else can I say about this car? It handles well. It performs well. If you're somebody who's familiar with BMW and traditional BMW German Teutonic handling, I don't think that you come away from this car unimpressed. Could GM improve the fit and finish? Of course they could. there's certain things they could improve upon. But again, some of the things that these cars have been, dinged on, you'll experience the same on some of the German vehicles. Like, for instance, the door panels on a lot of BMWs, the lower door panels. My son's little toy here. All of this is soft touch. It's leather. It's stitched in leather. Interior of this little door pocket is, soft touch materials. The exterior, this is soft touch materials. It's not hard plastic. Folks who rode BMWs, especially those, F series, 3 series, not the newly introduced Gs, and they also have lower plastic cladding as well. You'll know what I'm talking about. They scuff as soon as you look at them. Again, the fit and finish of this car, I'm not mad at it. They've done a fairly decent job. And again, even if you get a base model without the roof, I actually you can get the roof can now be an option on the base model. I think they introduced that option maybe for 2016. When it was first introduced, you couldn't get a roof. If you can live with the basic gauges, which the fonts were improved for the 2016 model year as well, you'll be fine. It still has the basic goodness, but the recalls and everything else add a different attitude and element, and to a certain degree, handling prowess with this, because you're not sliding around as you would just in the standard seats. The standard seats are great. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with them. They do what they're intended to do. But the recalls take it to a different level. Now, if you are wide of frame, you have a wide torso or something like that, you might not like the recalls because they may be a little too confining for you. But other than that, they fit me fine. I'm 6'4" and I am about 245, so I'm not the smallest guy in the world, and they fit fine. But anyway, guys, that's been my review of the Cadillac CTS V-Sport. This has been the interior. Again, it's not a bad place to spend time. I had engagements or contracts that took me from Atlanta to Charlotte, North Carolina quite frequently. So in some cases, I drive 500 miles a week to and fro. This car is a beast on the highway, very comfortable. I would arrive at my destinations, both coming and going, fatigue free. The car, it gets out on the highway, it's a beast. Let's do one little last walk around. So thanks for watching, folks. This is Sapien-Motion. This is, again, the 2018 Cadillac CTS V-Sport Morello Red Edition. Again, it's unlikely to see a lot of these on the road. I'm sure the production numbers are definitely less than 100. Definitely, in my opinion, they're probably less than 50. So you're unlikely to see another CTS V-Sport configured as such. I'm, thrilled with my purchase, especially for what I paid. $48 and change for a car that originally stickered for $77,720. Less than a year later, with less than 6,000 miles, this car had like 5,300 on the clock when I first bought it. You'll never find another car with all these types of options for that price. Again, at Audis and BMWs, they all drop. Depreciation is real. So that first year hit is a mug. You got to be willing to take that on. But second hand folks, they do well. So again, this has been 2018 Cadillac CTS V-Sport Morello Red Edition. Sapien-Motion. We hope you like and subscribe. We look forward to bringing you more reviews, interactive sessions. Again, my son AJ will be in the next one, so we can provide you his feedback. He's a JDM nut. He loves he loves the RZ Super, and not so big of a fan of the most recently introduced one. But I look forward to speaking with you guys again soon and bringing you better content. Again, bear with us. We're learning our equipment, so as we grow, you'll grow with us. All right. Again, like and subscribe. Sapien-Motion. We are out.